Welcome to the GrandLAN video blog for books that came out on June 17th, 2009. I'm Craig, your host. This is part 2 of 2 installments this week. This will have your DC and your indie books. If you missed part 1 with our Marvel books, including a review of the much controversial Captain America 600, you can find it wherever you're watching this one. YouTube, MySpace, Facebook, ProjectFanboy.com, wherever else it may be. Very curious to see wherever else it might be. Thanks to you all again for continuing to make this grow in viewership. It's a fun little project that we like to put together a couple times, do a couple episodes a week, and I definitely still love doing it. There's just not been a lot to talk about lately. It seems like the books are kind of not flying as fast or as furious as they should be, or flying over my head as fast or as furious as they should be. But let's start in the DC universe. Bam, bam, Batman time. Batman Streets of Gotham #1. Who doesn't love some Paul Dini? And a Manhunter backup feature. Former contributor Brad Blankenship did give me the Manhunter trade paperbacks to read, and I really fell in love with it. It's like DC's answer to Alias. Here's this divorced mother who's smoking and fighting and killing bad guys, and really angsty and conflicted, and it just felt like that Jessica Jones feel. It was really good. So it's nice to see her as a backup feature in a Paul Dini Gotham book anyway. Streets of Gotham here. Kind of feels a bit directionless, but it's Paul Dini, so I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's probably going to pull through here. He's probably going to deliver. In the meantime, I'm just kind of left going, well, let's see where it goes. There's a nice bunch of disparate threads kind of thrown out there, but like I said, Dini will wrap it up. We're just seeing some very interesting things about Gotham City right now. So, pretty solid first issue. Again, it'll be very interesting to see where this fits compared to Gotham City Sirens breaking this coming Wednesday, or Batwoman in Detective Comics in 2 weeks. I'm not sure which one's going to be the best, really, of them all. So it'll be very interesting to see. Next up, Power Girl #2. This is a little better than issue 1 was. I was disappointed by issue 1. Issue 2 gets, it seems like Amanda Connor's art kind of has slipped back into her typical style. There's a lot less of this gritty, dark, trying to do the Jim Lee shading and cross-hatching. Justin Gray and Jimmy Palmiotti still delivering a pretty interesting story as Power Girl fights the Ultra Humanite. But it doesn't feel like the Terra story. The Terra story felt like, okay, here's this single, character-driven miniseries about Terra. This doesn't feel like a miniseries character-driven about Power Girl. It just feels like Power Girl's being attacked by an ape, and we're getting prolonged scenes of attack. Meanwhile, everything around her, the status quo that was set up in issue 1 that has this feeling of like an ongoing series status quo is all kind of falling to pieces, and we're kind of deconstructing already, second issue in. It just didn't pop for me. I don't know what it was. I'm happy to see that the art's cleaning itself up, but the storyline is just flat. I don't know how else to describe it. But again, unspectacular, but still okay. Still passable. It's not like I hated it. I'm definitely not going to throw it. And any DC book I don't throw, has something going for it at least. We'll wrap up our trip through the DC Universe with Tiny Titans #17. As you know, I've started to review this, and this is a little more of a fun book than #16 was. #16 was really focused on the idea of the race. This one really is a bunch of mini little jokes along the way. It's not just all about Raven's Book of Magic Spells. It definitely delivers. It's very funny. We get Batmite, Mixaplex, definitely delving into DC history. And then you get a really funny story called The Battle for the Cowl, which has sort of something to do with Battle for the Cowl, but not much. This is definitely a much better issue than #16 was. I feel like this is the quality that I hear that Tiny Titans is. Not that #16 was bad by any stretch of the imagination, but this one was much better, and I laughed a lot more and I enjoyed it a lot more. This is one where it's kind of a wink and a nod with characters like Mixplex and Batmite, and the idea of telling a story called Battle for the Cowl. You get this wink and a nod going towards where it's saying, okay, this is what's going on. Adults can read this and kind of go, okay, it's kind of a parody, but at the same time, kids can kind of get the idea that it's a funny story and have some fun with it as well. So really good stuff there. Moving into the indie world, let's go to G.I. Joe Cobra number 4. Hey, did you know this was a miniseries? Me neither. I'm kind of disappointed at that. Christos Gage has been delivering, and wow, this is a great book. Really a whole bunch of stuff just shifting and going in completely different directions, and then all of a sudden at the end I get to the end and they say, so yeah, I hope you really enjoyed this mini-series. We're probably going to tell a lot more stories with this idea because it's a pretty good idea. And I'm just kind of sitting there like, you're damn right it is. It's a great idea. This is the best of the G.I. Joe launch from IDW, and to see it be a mini-series as opposed to Origins in the main book, there's something lacking here, because it really is disheartening to see a book this fascinating go away, especially when it doesn't wrap up, it doesn't end. It's still got a nice open ending to it. You know, you can definitely see volume 2 or volume 3, volume 4. You know, you can see this going on to see where this character goes from here. And I was telling somebody about this, and I said, man, you know, this was a really damn good book. And somebody said, well, I'm not into G.I. Joe. That was the great thing about this book. So you didn't have to be into G.I. Joe. Like, as far as I can tell, the only 2 characters I recognized from, you know, watching it as a child were Tomax and Xamot, and they were in this issue. And their mere existence isn't like you have to know who they are when you get in there. You don't have to go, oh, hey, okay, Tomax and Xamot. And it doesn't matter, you know. You get this explanation along the way, and it just moves right along. It's a great military espionage book, and it's what Christos Gage writes, you know. He writes good street-level stuff with really good motives behind characters that don't have to have superpowers or, you know, ridiculous things going on with them, you know. You put people in interesting situations and poke them and prod them and see how they react. That's characterization. That's what a great writer does, and Christos Gage delivers solid here. Ignore the G.I. Joe logo. Just tell yourself it's a 4-issue miniseries about espionage, you know, and you'll be there. You'll love it. It's great stuff, and it's sad to see it go as a miniseries as opposed to an ongoing, but really, really good. Quite possibly the best book I read this week. Also from IDW, Groom Lake number 3. And I gotta say, first of all, that these covers with the alien with the crazy t-shirts are really growing on me. Issue 2 had it was like an Atari logo, and it said alien instead of Atari, and this one says, I sort of hate indecisive people. I really want a t-shirt that says that. I don't really know why, but I just do. So the story has become about Archibald the alien. If you've been following what I've been discussing about this book, Archibald was kind of this scene-stealing side character, it seemed, in the first issue, and the miniseries has really taken off in the direction of following Archibald now, and definitely really for the better, because it's such a fascinating character. It kind of feels like when Chris Ryall was writing this, like he didn't really necessarily want it to go all the way through with Archibald, and it seems like Archibald grabbed the story and drove it in his own way, as good characters do, and that makes some great stuff. Ben Templesmith delivers. I'm not usually a fan of Templesmith's art, because usually it's horror stuff and I can't really understand what's going on when there's blood splatters all over the place, but here is a situation where his art is delivering and you can really make sense of what's going on. It's really well done, and it's building to a good climax. It's got great pacing, great storytelling, great characterization. You can't go wrong with this. It's a fun UFO story that you can laugh at and also have a good time with at the same time. So definitely check out Groom Lake if you're not checking it out already. IDW just knocking it out of the park twice this week. Lastly, Mr. Stuffins, number 2 of 3. Why does it only have to be of 3? Why? I know this is like 2 years late. We've already got a reprint of number 1, and most people that read the number 1 in 2007 obviously did not you know, they've already disappeared, or they're in the vast minority of people who are reading this because they've already seen, most people have already seen number 1 that came out a couple months ago. It's still a great book. Mr. Stuffins continues to just kick ass and take names, which is exactly what I want a Secret Agent Bear to do. It's a fun little story. David Peterson's alternate covers, which I don't have here, but I sold to one of my customers. David Peterson's alternate covers are doing a great job of, you know, just delivering even more, but very fun book. It's interesting to see how quickly they're going to wrap it up, and whether the sales will warrant another miniseries, because it's a great idea and it deserves a lot more than just 3 issues, especially the way that it's launched and the way that it's ready to go. So here's hoping that Boom stops putting out stuff like Irredeemable and starts putting out stuff like more Mr. Stuffins, please. Do you hear me, Mark Waid? More Mr. Stuffins. Come on, this is great stuff. That's it for this installment and for this week. As always, I'm Craig. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.